A very good morning, it's Fabio, and welcome back to another daily market outlook where I analyze the major dollar pairs and, of course, gold. Now, we're going to start off with EURUSD and see where price can be heading next, because despite the fact that throughout the entire week we have just simply been consolidating and we are currently stuck in a range, we are still looking for our lower time frame objective, but also our higher time frame objective to be achieved. Now, if we look here at the daily time frame, first of all, we can see that the market has slowed down quite a bit. The overall price action here is stuck within a daily area of supply, and also the monthly open here acts as a natural area of resistance. Now, we're still looking for one more sell-off in towards the downside, towards this overall point of liquidity. Within the overall daily impulse in towards the highs, we need to see a daily point of liquidity get grabbed or a daily low get grabbed, because that is simply the overall rule that I have when looking for upside continuation plays. And it has happened every single time here in the leg up as well, and therefore I'm simply looking probability wise for that exact same move to happen before looking for any further longs. Now, let's say that the market does in fact react to this area of demand, and let's say that this internal low here does act as liquidity and that the yearly open is enough to push the market up higher. Then I will simply wait for a change in the overall structure, meaning I would wait for this high to break, and on the retest of, for example, the monthly open or wherever the monthly open will be, that is then the moment where I would be looking for a new long position back in towards the highs. And then, yeah, the yearly open together with a monthly open could be enough, together with the internal liquidity, to then push that market up higher. But we would need to wait again for the internal structure to be confirmed bullish, because for now on the 4-hour time frame it also is still bearish, right? We've still had a strong impulse here in towards the downside. This was your overall impulse, and what happened is that we took out some internal liquidity. With that internal liquidity taken, we then saw the market start to sell off back in towards the lows. Now, once again, if we look at the overall swing leg, we can see the market retraced exactly towards the 0.5 fib. And in this current leg, again, as well, the market has done what? Retraced exactly towards the 0.5 fib. So that's why I still see potential for EURUSD to head down lower towards that yearly open or towards that overall daily point of liquidity. And that for me still remains the main focus here on the short term, because also if I look at the dollar index, I still see there to be potential for another upside move. We can see though, again, yes, the weekly time frame, or excuse me, the weekly open is situated here, and you can see that we're pretty much just resting on the weekly open, meaning that the dollar index is consolidating. But what I do see is a potential breakout today, because the market is squeezing, meaning it is forming descending highs and descending lows. So at some point in time we are going to break out, and I'm looking for that breakout in towards the upside, towards the overall daily points of liquidity or 4-hour liquidity as well, as the current market structure is still bullish, right? We still have demand zones in control, and we're now simply squeezing and looking for that next breakout in line with the overall direct order flow that we have been seeing since around mid-February. So that's the game plan for now on the dollar index. For me, it doesn't make sense to short this yet, and therefore focus is still on a long. Looking at GBPUSD, then GBPUSD looks good to sell off one more time. Yesterday we saw a very aggressive sell-off, and the GBP pairs as a whole have been looking amazing. I'm not sure if you guys checked out GBPAUD. I did discuss it yesterday on the live stream, but we can see that exactly from the overall liquidity high, the internal liquidity high, the market again sells off in towards the downside. And trading can be this simple. When you have a very impulsive market, right, it can sometimes be very hard to find an entry, because you're always looking for the perfect pullback. But what happens sometimes, very simply said, is that if you just look at the 1-hour time frame here, the market does what? Impulse from this high in towards, let's say, this low here, and then the bump in the road taken out, boom, sell off. And it happens time and time again. Here as well, we have, let's say, a strong push down, strong push down. What happens? The internal bump in the road here gets taken out, and then the sell-off happened. And the exact same thing happened here again. So GBP pairs have been selling off very nicely. Even a GBP NZD, which we also highlighted inside Discord, has been selling off very nicely as well. Also came back up for some internal liquidity. Here we have the push, little pullbacks right above that liquidity high with a lot of equal highs here. We took that out, and since the 4-hour change of character, boom, sell off in towards the downside. So some great price action overall, but I understand most of you are interested in GBPUSD. Now, GBPUSD itself is still looking good for another sell off in towards the downside. That is currently the main focus. We can see here that we have similar price action to the past, where we've now liquidated the internal high, and this is the Asian session high. And I'm now looking for this to sell off in towards the downside today for one more move in towards the lows, towards where? Towards daily liquidity. We can see so far that the daily objective, or that the 4-hour objective, is being fulfilled. If we look at the 4-hour market structure here, we can see that we've had a push down, a pull back up, push down, pull back up, push back down, a pull back up, exactly towards 0.5 fib. And we're now just looking for that one more sell-off in towards the downside, towards that daily point of liquidity. Again, going long here on GU doesn't make sense for myself from the perspective that the immediate 4-hour market structure is still bearish, and the fact that daily liquidity still lies open. And with that daily liquidity, I'm again referring to what? Let me just clean this up for you guys. I am referring to the fact that we still have this little bump in the road here and this little bump in the road here open. So I'm looking for one more sell-off on GBPUSD before looking for a potential long opportunity again, if the 4-hour market structure were then to shift, obviously. So ideally, we see today and in towards the beginning of next week, one more sell-off, break a structure down, and then after grabbing that daily liquidity, we break up again, break the 4-hour market structure, and boom, then we look for longs again. That's obviously going to be the highest probability trade. So that's GBPUSD for you. Now moving on into AUDUSD and NZDUSD. So AUDUSD did exactly what we want to see from an AUDUSD, where we've had a impulse in towards the highs, another impulse in towards the highs, and then what happens? Internal liquidity gets grabbed to bump in the road, and from that bump in the road, boom, flies up in towards the highs. These are the kind of setups that you can take, just very simply said like this. It would be floating around 1.13%. So, I mean, overall, the setup on AU was relatively simple but clear. Hope some of you have been trading it. You can see kind of like the zones were still drawn on from yesterday's video. Impulse, retracement phase, and then here we're in the impulsive phase. Impulse, pullback, impulse, pullback, impulse, and every single time a pullback takes place towards where? Towards liquidity within the impulse. So here we have the impulse, liquidity, boom. From there we move up higher. Again, impulse, liquidity, boom, we push up higher. And again, as well, this is simply said, the 0.5 fib exactly to perfection, and the weekly open as well. So actually a very nice setup across the board. Was not one of my favorites, but a nice setup overall. NZDUSD, though, not as interesting as AUDUSD for myself. I'm still looking for a little bit more downside. I don't like trading from these kind of like levels over here. So personally, I would prefer to see another sell-off in towards the downside before getting involved with this. I think AUDUSD is a lot more clean than an NZDUSD. USDCAD. So I was in longs yesterday, USDCAD. What we did was that we went long on 1-hour market structure. So what we had here was a swing low. We had a swing high. The final point of liquidity got taken out. 1-hour change of character in towards the upside, and that's when I went long. Hit around a 1 to 1.3 risk to reward, but then oil prices have been going through the roof, reverse back in towards break even. So for myself, a break even trade on this. Also just because we are so consolidative again. So it's just difficult to trade these kind of markets on a USDCAD, in my opinion. We're not seeing really those clean moves. Overall, the market is just consolidative. And we also took out all of the liquidity above these descending highs here. And then from there, we sold off. So not the best price action, in my personal opinion, here on USDCAD. So I'll personally just stay away from this one for now. Then going into USDCHF. What are we seeing there? Consolidated price action as well. Nothing really here at the moment. We need to wait for a breakout. Currently just moving sideways. Then we have USDJPY. What has that been doing? Let's have a look. That's retraced a little bit. Still would prefer for us to sweep the low and then head up higher. For now, not really interesting. Obviously reject the daily open as well. My focus is not really on a USDJPY. I'm looking more at pairs like an AUDJPY, where the Australian dollar is a lot more clear and a lot more strong. Again, heading in towards the upside. Don't mind this. I'm creating a YouTube video for you guys. But overall, AUDJPY has taken out a lot of liquidity again here on the 1 hour. A lot of slow ascending lows takes that out. And from here, we're heading up higher again. This thing is very bullish. So all you want to be doing is focusing on those longs and reaccumulation. At the moment, breaker structure. Ideally, we would see a deeper retracement towards this low here or this low here. But we'll have to wait for that to happen. Maybe it gives another push up, and then we can use this here as internal liquidity for a future long again. But that's AUDJPY. And then, of course, we have gold. So gold, I'm looking for a breakout in towards the upside very, very soon. We can see that we're consolidating. So markets are still very, very difficult to trade. Yesterday, again, a lot of volatility with some more downside sweeps. Ideally, we will see a breakout in the near future. And what I'm pretty much just looking for is a breakout once we break out of this range. We've stopped underneath the range, targeting some new highs again. So waiting for this kind of like breakout trade to happen. I don't want to get stuck within this range. So waiting for this range to just break out, and then we can look for longs. But yeah, maybe, who knows, we could still see some further downside. For now, it's just purely gambling because the market is ranging. So don't get caught up within this range, but wait for a clean breakout and a retest, or for that clean breakout itself to happen. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll speak soon. Thanks.